Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about something called boomer panic. Yeah, I don't know what the hell the world is coming to, but I read an article about how boomers are being overwhelmed and they panic, I guess, and the explanation is that they weren't allowed to express their emotions as children, and they had to hold everything inside, and now it's all coming out, I guess. It's that's the explanation anyway. And these old people are panicking at checkout, at the checkout register and stuff, and people over minor problems. Like in the article, it was at Home Depot or something, and a dude brought up a dowel rod, and it didn't have a sticker on it, and so the old cashier just panicked and threw a fit. So I have two real problems with this shit. The first is that the old people are panicking, right? I mean, if I look back through history, I remember my grandparents. They didn't panic over little shit. They were greatest generation, and they didn't panic over little shit. And I'm sure that they weren't taught to express themselves emotionally and be in touch with their emotions constantly and be hyper aware of their emotions and be all emotional when they were children. They were taught the same, as everybody else back then, that you control your emotions. You hold it down. You get through life by whatever means necessary. Crying about it isn't going to help. Acting out and acting like an ass and screaming and yelling and being all emotional just makes you look like an idiot. It doesn't help any situation. So that has been that way through many, many generations. The older people, they weren't taught to feel everything and to express everything, and that everybody is supposed to be hyper aware of what they're feeling and super sensitive to each other and all this shit. That's not how it was back in the day. And back in the day, people didn't panic. They didn't panic over little shit. I'm sure some people did. I'm not saying every single person, but as a general rule, people didn't panic, right? Old people didn't panic. I don't remember old people panicking back in the day. I don't remember old people, not once in my life do I ever remember going to a register and seeing an old person throw a fit at the register, at the checkout. So they were just calm and cool, and, they were friendly, and they talked to you. When I was a little kid and a teenager, they talked to you, the way old people would talk to a younger person. Hey, hey, young man, what are you doing today, or whatever? How's your, whatever, just making small talk. But they never panicked. Even if a situation did come up, they would probably take care of it. They would probably handle it. I was probably more likely to panic back then than some old person, but that's not how it is today. These old people are panicking. All right. And I don't get it. I don't understand it. Us Gen Xers, we were raised that way, to be seen and not heard. We weren't taught to express our emotions and to throw panic attacks and throw tantrums and shit to be understood, and we weren't taught to be sensitive and to make everybody understand our feelings, and the world was supposed to accept our feelings and emote constantly and all this bullshit. We weren't taught that stuff, and we're not panicking. We're well-adjusted people, not all of us, of course. And an argument could be made against me being well-adjusted. So I'm not even including myself in this mix. But most Gen Xers are well-adjusted people, and they're not panicking. We didn't get raised to emote and be in touch with our feelings constantly and all this feeling bullshit. And then the second problem I have is that this whole thing with feelings and emotions and all this, okay? This newer stuff that's happening with the younger people, they're all supposed to be super hypersensitive to each other's emotions and feelings and express themselves, their emotional state constantly and all this shit, right? I have such a problem with that because emotions are such a fluid, transitioning thing constantly. One minute I might be happy as hell. The next minute I might be pissed off. The next minute I might be a little scared because something happened in the traffic. I might be, and then a few minutes later I might be sad because I got a text because my dog died or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That shit changes constantly. So to base a life on that, to base your life on that that fluid, constantly changing element of, you know, being human, that's not a good recipe for a successful life. Throughout my entire life, my younger life anyway, people were taught to lay a solid foundation, to be stable and dependable. Nowadays, it's just whatever. No, you can't depend on anything or anyone. No one keeps their word because they just don't feel like it now. I don't feel like it. You have to accept how I feel in the moment right now. So I just didn't show up. I just left you hanging. I just, whatever. I didn't feel like helping. I didn't feel like, being in this relationship anymore. Just feelings. I don't feel like, being a parent right now. I don't feel like any of that shit. I don't feel like doing anything. So I'm not going to do anything. Or I feel like doing this. So I'm just going to do it no matter who it hurts, no matter what the consequences are, because there aren't any consequences. So I'm just going to do it because I feel like it. And all of y'all have to accept my feelings, embrace my feelings, and celebrate me for it. And that's just not a good recipe for society. Society needs structure and it needs to be built on a bedrock of ideals that don't change. They don't change from day to day, from minute to minute, like feelings do. You cannot base a society or build a society or maintain a society on feelings. It will crumble. Okay? And that's part of what we're seeing now. It is in the process of crumbling. I don't know what stage we're in, right? I don't know what stage we're in on the process. It could be the very beginning stages, or it could be the very end. But that it is crumbling, I think, is beyond doubt. We're just Western society, Western civilization is rotting from within. All this, the decay of morals, the decay of loyalty, the decay of trustworthiness, the decay of truth, honesty, all of this stuff is going away. It's vanishing like vapor in front of our eyes, and we're watching it in real time. And you can't maintain a society where there is no common ground, that we can agree on. Because if you're happy and I'm angry, there's no common ground there. If we're basing it on feelings, we can't agree that the world is a good place. If I'm pissed off and I'm mad at the world, there's no common ground there. There's nothing to base a society on. And as I've said in the past, I'll watch it crumble. I'll sit there and drink a cup of coffee and hang out and laugh as it crumbles. I'm Gen X. I've been expecting an apocalypse since they first started threatening us with it. back in the early 70s when I was born, and it was nuclear, the nukes were going to fly, and then it was an ice age, and then it was killer bees and AIDS and all that, the list goes on, Y2K, the hole in the ozone. So I've been expecting apocalypse. I grew up with that shit, and I never expected to see the year 2000. It never even crossed my mind. I was so surprised when I found out I was going to be 30. I think I was just struck numb. I was speechless when I found out I was going to be 30. It never even crossed my mind that I would be 30. I never thought I just thought that the world would end before that. That's how I was raised up in an apocalypse, basically, just pre-apocalypse, constantly living in a age where apocalypse was tomorrow. And I've been expecting it the whole time. And then when I was old enough to realize that I could prepare for it, and I could, that the world was turning to shit and it would be a reset, then I started to kind of look forward to it. I wouldn't mind seeing it. So yeah, that's where I'm at there. But this whole feeling thing and all of that, everything in society, the feelings and this internet and technology, pushing all this shit, and feelings a lot of times are false. You can't, people are taught to say now, like, I feel like he's telling the truth. Okay? Think about that statement. I feel like he's telling the truth. So it doesn't matter what's coming out of the guy's mouth. The only thing that matters is how I feel about it. Okay? Whether he's speaking facts or just making shit up is completely irrelevant. It's just the only thing that matters is how I feel about it. I feel like, you're being mean just by someone stating simple facts. Hey, the sun's coming up this morning. I feel like you're being mean. Are you, trying to imply that I'm going to get skin cancer or something? No, I just made a statement of fact. The sun is coming up. See it right there? That kind of thing. So all that feelings, and then you can project that onto anything. I feel like you're being any way I want you to be. I feel like you're a liar or a truth teller. I feel like you're being honest. I feel like you're being faithful, even though you're, screwing around with everybody. Or I feel like you're cheating, even though you don't at all. I just feel that way, so I'm going to behave this way. That's the way people justify their actions now. Well, I feel like you're doing this, so I'm going to do that. And that somehow has become a legitimate way to act, a legitimate way to be. I feel this way, I feel disrespected, so I'm going to act disrespectful. It doesn't matter how the other person actually intended to say something or actually said something or any facts related to the subject or the incident at all. The only thing that matters is how I feel about the interaction, which that kind of stuff is just infinitely convoluted. It's confusing. It's maddening. And there's no way to have a decent conversation where you come to a middle ground and you can agree on anything. Because even though I feel like you're telling the truth now, I can feel like you're lying. In 3 seconds, I can feel like you're lying, even though you haven't said anything different, because my feelings change. And it's just another reason why I think the apocalypse would be a good thing for humanity. Just start over. Let's just start over. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll put that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I'll put that link down in the description too for any of you who want to do that, and thank you very much. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff, t-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff over there. But I'll put that link down in the description too for any of you who are interested. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. Thank you very much to those of you who do that. I really do appreciate it. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments, or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.